In this video, we'll be demonstrating how to configure poverty. We will create a Lorenz curve, we will organize all the salaries into quintiles, and then we will find some percents for each of these quintiles. So, when they create the Lorenz curve, what they do first is they organize all the salaries from the lowest to the highest. So, for example, here we're just taking 15 salaries. So, what we need to do is go through and pick and organize all three of these in order. So the bottom three, the next three, and so on. Now, fortunate enough, if we highlight all of these salaries, we could go up to Data, click on Sort Range, and then we can go A to Z, which would mean that the lowest to the highest amount for income. So when we do that, now we don't have to go through and pick and choose all of these salaries or try to organize them. So we find our first three amounts would be 15,000, 18,000, and 24,000. We have to total up each quintile, so we're going to go sum. And here's the formula here, if you missed it. So we're adding up the total there, and then we need to find the average of this quintile, quintile 1. So we would just type in average, go equals average, highlight these three cells, and we'd find out that $19,000 would be the average for this quintile. Now we need to go through and do this to all the quintiles. So now the next one would be 25, 26, 27,000. Okay, and then we'd have to find the total and the average again. Now a little shortcut here. Instead of you having to try to enter in all the formulas, just click on this cell here, drag it over, and now it's done it for us. Same thing with the average. It'll take care of it for us. So you need to go through and do all of those. I've included this formula in here for you. All this is doing is adding up all the total of the salaries that are in here. Once you have your different quintiles all done in their averages, now we need to start figuring out what would be the percent for each one of these. And this is pretty simple as well. All we would do is we would go equals, we would click on the total for the quintile divided by the total amount of money. So if we did this by this, we would see that this is 42% that is in there. Now, to find the cumulative income, now we just begin adding all of the quintiles together. Now, since we've already done one quintile, it would be the same amount for this one. Okay, let's do the next one. So, the next one, we would take 78,000 total for this one, quintile 2, divided by the total, and we would see this would be 57%. Then from here, this is where you have to do this for each one. We would just add the previous quintile with the second one, and we see that this would be 100% of what we have up here. As you go from each one of these, you just keep adding on the percents from the previous ones. So the third fifth, you would add up all three of these. The fourth fifth, you would add up all those, and the fifth fifth, you would add up all this, and it should equal out to be 100%. Or maybe it'll be if the spreadsheet already does it for you or automatically gets the average or rounds up, it may be a little higher, and that's okay. Okay, so that's what we're going to do for this. And then you can add up your total here by going sum, adding up these three together. When you're done, your percentages should look like this. This is what they should match up to be. Okay. Now, when I'm grading this, I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for the correct answer, obviously, but I'm also looking for the correct formulas so that I know that you understand it. So this would end up being what it needs to be on your worksheet here. The reason the percentages are different right now is because we haven't put all the quintiles in yet. Okay, once you have all of your quintile percentages in, now it's time to create the Lorenz curve. And the way we do that is quite simple. We would highlight our quintiles and the individual percentages for each quintile. Then, as we've done before, we'd go up to our insert chart. Insert chart, there we go. And we have some chart types here that we can choose from. I'll let you decide on which ones, but a line is a good one. This is a good one. Let's see what other ones that are out there. This is another good one. It really gives a good graphic that I like too. So you can kind of choose on what you want as long as we can see that it's some sort of line and then demonstrates our percentages. Now, what does this graph indicate? What does this show us? Now, in this graph, it really shows where the income is all coming from. So obviously the lowest are bringing in very little, and the highest, the fourth, fifth, and the third especially, are bringing in a good amount of money. A good indication if an economy is doing very well is if there is a very strong second, third, and fourth quintile. That means middle class is doing well. But the higher the gap between our lowest and our highest is not good. Now, there is, mentioned before, there is a lot of arguments right now that's saying that this highest fifth should be paying more taxes than the lowest fifth. And it's a huge argument with the presidential debates, and is that fair and what they should do. But this would be the information they would go to identify who is making what. If there's any other questions, let me know. I will grade this on Friday. So again, if there's any questions, just shoot me an email, or I should be back by lunchtime if you were not able to do something.